Hi, this is Golda Shera. I will be discussing global economy. So, you see, global economy has changed drastically over the past few years and decades in the way that it is governed and organized by the collaborating of all nations. These changes have precautions that not only affect the flow of goods and services between among countries, but also the movement of people and services. As we've been seeing occasions over the last century, too great or too much of fluctuations, ups and downs, might have the effect leading to a global economic crisis. No? So, what exactly is global economy? How does it functions? And how does it affect our lives? What is global economy? The global economy refers to the interconnectedness worldwide economic activities that takes between or among multiple countries. These economic activities can have either positive or negative impact of the countries that are involved. No, obviously that is the result for doing collaborating all economic activities to each country, so expect for positive and negative impact. Global economy comprises several characteristics such as globalization. So what is globalization? Globalization describes a process by which national and regional economies, societies and cultures has become integrated all over the world. Another characteristics is the international trade. International trade is considered to be one of the impact of the result of the globalization. No? It refers to the exchange of goods and services among different countries. And it has also helped countries to specialize in products which they have a comparative advantage in their specific countries. Like for example, Philippines, what is our specialization? Most likely, we are onto agricultures, right? The rice, banana. So, that is the specialization of the Philippines. And there are other countries who also have other specialization. This is an economic theory that refers to an economy's ability to produce goods and services to lower opportunity costs than its trade partners. Because of this international trading, there is a tendency that other countries will have choices in terms of low cost of labor, low cost of raw materials, because they can, in our common term, canvas other countries who can give them a better price or a better services because of the international trade. Another characteristic is the international finance. This is really the bloodline of the economic global economy. You see, money can be transferred at a faster rate compared with the goods and services and people, making international finance one of the primary features of a global economy. International finance consists of topics like currency exchange rates and monetary policies. So that is also the food of the economic global economy, where it is very important, international finance, making it moving, making the global economy moving. Okay. Another thing is the global investment. This refers to an investment strategy that is not constrained by geographical boundaries. Global investment mainly takes place through foreign direct investment or FDI. You see, when there is a collaboration integrated of the global economy, expect for investors, foreign investors, to come to your country and find a place where they can put a business in that specific countries. So most likely, your countries are already been marketed all over the world. So investors all over the world will be coming over to your country to invest. Why is global economy important? Pak. We can understand the importance of the global economy by looking at in relations to emerging markets. One is the economic importance at a micro and macro levels. When you say micro, it's a small unit of economy. Example, households, the smallest unit of economics. And macro is the whole nations, so the economic activity of the whole nations or the whole country. The world's population has led to emerging markets growing economy, making them one of the primary engines of world economic growth. The growth and resilience shown by emerging markets is a good sign for the world economy. You need to understand that the concept of microeconomics, it refers to the study of behavior of households, individuals, and firms with respect to allocations of resources and decision making. You see, it really affects the individual's decision making, especially in microeconomics, because one's decision is to say, I will need to have a vast of plantation of sugar. So that would be, you will be needing more markets to sell your sugar canes. So individuals' decision making is also affects the economic flow. Therefore, from the perspective microeconomics, some of the largest firms with high market value and a few of the richest individuals in the world hail from these emerging markets, which has helped in the higher distribution of income in these countries. However, emerging countries are still plagued of poverty, and work still needs to be done to work towards eradicating it. This is a very broad topic because it may involve political already. As I mentioned in my previous discussion during my first sem class, we were able to show to the group that some countries have resources and yet they are very poor because their government itself is not properly distributing the economy to the whole nation, but rather to himself alone and only to his relatives. So the distribution of the consumptions or the goods is limited only to few people. So although they have the highest resources, let's say oil, and yet they are very poor. Okay, one of the example country is the Congo. They have very good resources in oil, and yet they are very poor. Okay, another characteristics is a long-term world economic outlook. According to financial and economic projections based on demographic trends and capital productivity models, the GDP, or gross domestic product, in emerging market economies in 2019 are likely to keep increasing at a positive rate. That was in 2019. Remember, today is 2020, and yet we have this pandemic, so you would not expect that there is already an increase. It is an automatic going down graph. Remember, because as the trying times or the pandemic scenario makes us put in a dilemma, in a crisis status. Who controls the global economy? Many people think that the global economy is controlled by governments of the largest economies in the world, such as USA, China, Europe. But this is a common misconception. Although governments do not hold power over countries' economies, it is the big banks and large corporations that controls and essentially fund these governments. For example, World Bank, they will be giving you proposals on in the Philippines, make a NLEX bridges or railroads. The Philippines has to borrow money to be able to make these railroads. And even if, let's say for example, we always thought that the current president is borrowing money to anywhere. All presidents or even past presidents, they borrowed money from the World Bank because it as belongs to the third world country, Philippines has the privilege to lend money from these world banks. What are these world banks? Swiss banks, other world banks, rich world banks. So they control the flow of the economy in particular countries. According to the World Economic News, US banks participate in many traditional government businesses like power production, oil refining and distribution, and also the operating of public assets such as airports and trains stations, as I've mentioned a while ago. How does the global economy work? The functions of the global economy can be explained through one word. What it is? It's transactions. International transactions taking place between top economies in the world help in the continuance of the global economy. These transactions mainly comprise trade taking place between different countries. International trade includes the exchange of a variety of products between countries. It ranges all the way from the fruits and foods to natural oil and weapons. Such as transactions have a number of benefits. Like when I was in Singapore, I was able to eat a very attractive banana, but the sticker on it says made in the Philippines, Mindanao. And I was so proud about it because I was already in Singapore eating a very beautiful banana, very delicious banana, and yet it is coming all the way from the Philippines, Mindanao pagid siya. So however, the price of that banana is not the same as the price we are buying it here. Our banana may cost us 3 pesos per piece, but for them it's already equivalent to us 300 pesos per banana. So that's how it works, no? What are the benefits of having those? Providing a foundation of worldwide economic growth with the international economy set up to growth up to 4%, that is in the record of 2019. Encouraging competitiveness between countries in various markets, because let's say for example, in Asian countries we have so many agricultural countries such as Brunei, Thailand, Philippines. So if you are from United States, you have the chance to choose among these agricultural countries to buy from them rice, because let's say for example rice, you have already the choices, no? So that is one of the benefits. Raising productivity and efficiency across countries. So like for example, in I don't know what year, what was that, Ford was having their car manufactured here in the Philippines. You know why? Because our labor is very cheap. The raw materials, they can get it here very cheap also. So they can produce many Ford cars and with a very less expenses, like the salaries, like that. Another benefit is helping in the development of underdeveloped countries by allowing them to import capital goods. Of course, like for example, considering again Philippines as a developing countries, so we have the chance to export our products. So we have the chance to sell our products higher than our price. As I've mentioned, the banana, we sell it within the Philippines for only 3 pesos, but when we export it, we can sell it as much as 300 pesos per piece. What are the effects of global economy? Nearly every country in the world in some way affected by things that happen, what may seem at times like unrelated countries. Due to the influence of the global economy, a good example of this is economic impact that the both will have other countries, not only in Europe but across global, not Australia, Asia, and other continent. The main cause of this effect is economics. Based on the production and exchange of goods and services, restrictions on the import and export of goods and services can potentially hamper the economic stability of countries who choose to impose too many. It's like buying shoes. So you don't buy right away, but you go elsewhere to see if the shoes has with the same quality but at a lower price. In other words, you can makanbas pa mo. Okay? The purpose of international trade is similar to that of trading within a country. However, international trade differs from domestic trade in two aspects. One is the currencies of at least two countries are involved in international trade. So there is already the difference between their currency rate. So if, for us it's peso, for others it's dollars. So there is exchange of currencies already. Like $1 is equivalent to 50 pesos. Okay. Occasionally, countries enforce barriers on the international trade of certain goods or services which can disrupt the relations between two countries. These barriers are, for example, their tariffs, their tax trade. Countries usually specialize in those products that they can produce efficiency, which helps in reducing overall manufacturing costs. Then countries trade these products with other countries whose product specialization is something else. Together, having greater specialization helps countries take advantage of economies of scale. So the weight of your production depends on the countries that you are going to sell your products to. Economies of scale refer to the proportionate saving in cost gained by the increased level of production. The more you produce, the more income you get. Okay. Manufacturers in these countries can focus all their efforts in building factories for specialized production, instead of spending additional money on the production of various types of goods. Occasionally, countries add barriers to international trade. Of course, because from there they earn, as I've mentioned, they earn from the taxes of export and import. Some of these barriers include trade tariffs and trade quotas, limitation on number of the products, because not all countries can sell their products to other countries unlimited. There is a quota, there is a limitation. So that also one of the barriers. Trade barriers often affect the economies of the trading countries, and in the long run, it becomes difficult to keep employing such barriers. What are the benefits of global economy? These are the numerous benefits of global economy, which include 1. Free trade. Free trade is an excellent method for countries to exchange goods and services. It also allows countries to specialize in the production of those goods in which they have comparative advantage. So, like as I mentioned, kung rice if we import rice, if we export rice, so like Philippines, we are on agriculture. Second is movement of labor. Increased migration of labor force is advantageous for the recipient countries. Movement of labor. Increased migration of labor force is advantageous. Like for example, some countries would require other citizens to be employed in their countries because they need blue-collar jobs, like who will shovel their snow. Most of the residents or most of their citizens do not do that. Only Filipinos does. So they allow people to come to their countries for work. Okay? So there is a movement already of work. Increased economic of scale, as I mentioned ago. So if you have more production to sell to other countries, you will have more income to expect for your countries. Remittances, something like that. And lastly, increased investment. Due to the presence of global economy, it has become easier for countries to attract short-term and long-term investments. Investments in developing countries go a long way in improving their economies. So, because of this world trade, because of this global economy collaboration of all countries, there is an increase of investment because some other countries' investors will come to your country to invest. Okay. Factors affecting global economy. So what are the factors that affects global economy? According to the latest economic news, here are some of the key factors that influence and affect how well the global economy works. 1. Natural resources. 2. Infrastructure. Population, there's an increase of population because, like for example, Filipina married an American. So instead of staying there, the American decided to come to the Philippines. They have offspring already, so there is an increase of population. Labor, there is already opportunity to work, no? In your country or going abroad, like in your country, because there are investors. So when they invest, they need employers. If you want to go out, so there's labor. There you have already the opportunity to work. Human capital. What are this human capital? Laborer. So probably Korean would be needing more welders, and the skilled workers, the trained welders are from the Philippines. So Koreans will be hiring more welders. Technology. So before we don't have these computers, and now we know already computers. We have this advanced smartphones. So there's an increase of technologies. The law, because of free trade, like their tariffs or taxes, so we will be able to know international laws from other countries. Okay? So if you have problems or any questions, you can check or message me on my Facebook, economics.entrep@gmail.com. Thank you and have a nice day. I hope I have given you some input on what is global economy. Bye.